Time now for your top stories and weather in 90 seconds. And we begin with breaking news. A woman is in custody now after Daytona Beach police say she shot her terminally ill husband in the hospital. That husband died. It happened at Advent Health in Daytona Beach. Staff and patients were evacuated from the hospital, but that hospital is now returning to normal operations. There are some changes to FEMA Disaster Recovery Center schedules to keep in mind next week. The site in Deltona will be closed on Monday, but will reopen on Tuesday. And in Orange County, the Barnett Park site will be closed on Tuesday and reopen on Wednesday. The deadline to apply for FEMA assistance for Hurricane Nicole is February 13th. And the first Vulcan Centaur rocket will arrive on our Space Coast on Sunday. The United Launch Alliance rocket left Alabama last week bound for the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Once it arrives, crews will prepare the rocket for its first certification flight. Now we want to get a check of your weather from certified meteorologist Chris Gilson. And Chris, we've been spoiled with a lot of sunshine lately, but not so much today.
No, today gray and also some rain out there. We have most of the rain coming down around Daytona Beach and up toward Flagler Beach and Palm Coast. So areas north of Orlando will have the steadier rain continuing for the next couple of hours, likely lasting through about 9 o'clock. This rain moving from west to east. Notice we're not tracking any thunderstorms. This is just some steady rain that will continue through the evening tonight. We'll start to dry out as we head toward daybreak on your Sunday morning. Temperatures dipping down into the middle to upper 50s to the north, lower 60s around Orlando and Kissimmee. Then as we head into Sunday afternoon, a little bit more sunshine, only a slight chance for a stray shower during the afternoon with high temperatures back to near 80.
Back to that breaking news now that we've been following closely for you all afternoon. New details into today's shooting at Advent Health Hospital in Daytona Beach. We want to get right out to Spectrum News 13's Dylan Lyons, who is joining us live from the hospital. And Dylan, we got an update from the Daytona Beach police chief just moments ago. Quite a bit of new information from that.
Yeah, that's right, Jeff. So what we now know, Chief Jakari Young says the couple actually planned this shooting. The victim, 77-year-old Jerry Gillen, his wife who shot him in the head here at the hospital, 76-year-old Ellen Gillen, and they lived in New Smyrna Beach. Now, police say negotiations began just before 12:30 this afternoon, and Ellen surrendered just before 3 p.m. Jerry was a patient here at the hospital and was on the 11th floor, which is for terminally ill patients. The chief says the couple discussed this shooting if Jerry's health did not improve.
They had a conversation about it, and they actually planned this approximately 3 weeks ago, that if he continued to take a turn for the worse, that he wanted her to end this. So obviously we're unsure how she brought that gun into the hospital, but this was planned.
Now, the chief says the woman was going to turn the gun on herself, but decided she couldn't go through with it right after the shooting. The surrounding rooms were evacuated. One person we spoke with, his wife was actually recovering inside the hospital while all of this was unfolding.
Very anxious because I want to be back next to my wife. I know my wife. First thing she said when she woke up is, "Where's my husband and where's my son?" And we're out here. So I feel terrible inside that I'm not in there with her.
Now, the chief says the couple's goal was for the husband to do it, but he did not have the strength. According to police, she never made a threat to police, but she never put the gun down. Everything was contained to the one hospital room. Now, the chief says she will be charged with first-degree murder, and I am working to find out if the hospital has any weapon detection systems in place, like a metal detector, or how this woman was able to bring the gun inside the hospital. And the chief says the hospital is working to return to normal operations. Now, we'll continue to keep you updated on this breaking story on air, online, and on the Spectrum News app. Live in Daytona Beach tonight, Dylan Lyons, Spectrum News.
Thank you so much, Dylan. We'll, of course, have new information as those details emerge this evening. Sunday marks 50 years since the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision, and crowds gathered outside Orlando City Hall today for an abortion rights rally. State Representative Ana Escamani led that event, calling to protect abortion rights as well as the funding for it. Several organizations attended the rally in March. They are urging people to make their voices heard to lawmakers.
It's not just about you, it's about your community, your families, it's about everyone.
Anti-abortion demonstrators also attended to make their voices heard. We spoke to one woman who says her faith is what has called her to show up there.
I'm a Christian, and I believe that being pro-life is part of Jesus' mandate, that he is the way, the truth, and the life.
Protesters marched up to the courthouse after speakers concluded at the podium. Now here's what we know about Vice President Kamala Harris's trip to Florida this weekend. Harris is scheduled to deliver remarks on Sunday afternoon up in Tallahassee for the 50th commemoration of the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision. Now, senior administration official says the vice president will lay out the case for national legislation on the subject. Now, Spectrum News 13's Jason Delgado will be up in Tallahassee on Sunday covering the vice president's trip. We'll, of course, have reports from Tallahassee throughout the day on Sunday right here on Spectrum News 13. Despite the Supreme Court overturning the Roe v. Wade decision last year, anti-abortion advocates are continuing their fight to get rid of abortion nationwide. The third annual March for Life rally was held in downtown St. Pete on Saturday. Spectrum News 13's Nick Popham gives us a recap of that demonstration.
Lots of folks came to downtown St. Pete earlier this morning to participate in what they're calling a March for Life rally. This is the third time they've done this in 3 years, and they've had this march under that banner. But this year it's a little bit different, obviously, because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Dozens of anti-abortion demonstrators marched around downtown, ultimately ending at City Hall here to hear from different speakers and advocate for things they hope to see happen in the future now that Roe v. Wade is overturned. For them, it was a major celebration to see that landmark decision get overturned this past summer, but now their work shifts to making sure states outlaw abortion. Listen to what one of the speakers was saying to the crowd after the march.
Our ultimate goal is to foster a culture of life in which hearts and minds are changed so that even the idea of having an abortion is unthinkable.
We were speaking with some of the marchers who were quite emotional when talking with us. Some even brought their children to participate as well, saying it's important to set an example for their kids to stand up for their beliefs. Now, following those speeches outside of City Hall behind me here, there was a lot of praying as well as different hymns that were sung by the crowds that participated in this march. Now, in Florida, there is a 15-week abortion ban that's on the books right now, and the only exception is to save the mother's life. In St. Pete, Nick Popham, Spectrum News.
Volunteers with the nonprofit U.S. Hunger say they're trying to make the lives of those impacted by hurricanes a little easier. Those volunteers are packing nearly 43,000 meals this weekend. We're told most of those meals will help survivors of Hurricane Ian in southwest Florida. Red lentil jambalaya is one of those meals. That sounds good, which the nonprofit says it's a quick and easy meal to make, but those meat and vegetables may be hard for some to afford.
We donated north of 12 million meals that went back into local food banks across Florida and even in other areas as well.
Now, if you want to get involved and volunteer with their future efforts, you can find those details online at ushunger.org.
After I heard the words, "you have cancer," I couldn't hear anything else.
That moment there, that immediate steps after a phone call that you never want to get, where patients go from diagnosis to initial treatments and appointments. I want to check in now with certified meteorologist Chris Gilson. And Chris, one of those weekends where you want to wait maybe till Sunday for those outdoor plans.
Yeah, tomorrow's looking a little bit better. We'll time out how long the rain that we're seeing in parts of Central Florida continues for this evening when we come back with your weather on the ones. And we're also tracking a warm-up, all when we come back at 5:11.
Central Florida is a community